Everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and this is breaking news. As news breaks about in the last hour or so that Iran has indeed attacked a U.S. base in Iraq, and there is footage coming out of it. Please excuse that I am on my cell phone, but it is kind of last moment, and my laptop recently crashed. But you could see what appears to be footage out of CNN of cell phone footage of the attack. There's a lot of reports of multiple casualties, though it is extremely hard at this moment to actually put a finger on what exactly is happening. But there are a lot of breaking stories coming out regarding this supposed rocket attack, and I want to go into this news to the best of my ability. People are commenting CNN get real. We're going into a lot of stories here. This is just breaking. And essentially, let's go back a little bit and we'll get into the most recent news. This is absolutely, it's infuriating to say the least. But what happened was, obviously, we go back to last June in 2019, and there was a Gulf of Oman attack. Now, it was claimed that Iran attacked U.S. ships and Japanese ships in the Gulf of Oman. What actually ended up happening was, according to the ship owners, it was someone else. It wasn't Iran. Well, moving on to about a couple weeks ago, about a week or so ago, Iranian-backed militias, a militia in Iraq, allegedly accidentally killed a U.S. contractor. That led to the United States attacking the Iranian militia, killing 25 people. That led to, and by the way, this Iranian militia was attacking ISIS in the region. This led to the embassy in Baghdad being taken over, which led to the U.S. getting involved further, which led to the killing of Soleimani, Qasem Soleimani, who was the top commander in Iran at the Baghdad airport in Iraq, of course. Now, this is the latest news. They did say that they were going to vow revenge, and we do have the latest news. Rockets hit Iraq base where U.S. troops are located, and there's breaking news all across the board right now. As this Slate article says, Iran launches missile attack in retaliation for Soleimani's strike. And I do apologize for being on my phone here recording a screen. I don't have much of a choice at the moment. As it says, early Wednesday morning local time, Iran delivered on its threats to retaliate for the killing of Major General Qasem Soleimani with a missile strike on Iraqi bases hosting U.S. troops, according to a Pentagon statement. More than a dozen ballistic missiles were fired from towards at least two bases at Al-Assad and Erbil. It's not clear yet how much damage the missiles caused or if there were any casualties. I want to note that, and I think it's important, that Erbil is a very, very peaceful area of Iraq that has in many ways gotten around the conflict in the region over the years. It's considered the capital of Iraqi Kurdistan, and I was actually planning to go there soon. It is considered a tourist attraction in Iraq. Iraq was just starting to get around everything and start to pick up tourism again as I was close to their border about a month and a half ago in Turkey near the Syrian border. As we've seen, the U.S. and the military-industrial complex had no intention to stop the conflict in the region, as we can go back to the 7-country plan that General Wesley Clark talked about all that time ago. If you're just tuning in, this is breaking news. Make sure to press like on this video if you haven't already. Essentially, Iran has attacked the United States in Iraq. This is what the allegations claim. We are in early stages right now. I apologize for recording a screen with my phone here, but this is what we got at the moment. As it continues in this article here, Iranian state TV said the operation was called Martyr Soleimani and was a direct response to the general's killing in a U.S. drone strike last week. Iran's Revolutionary Guards warned against further retaliation for these strikes, saying it would prompt further attacks against U.S. bases and U.S. allies. While it's still early, here are a few quick observations. As it says, first, this attack is unusual in that it was directly claimed by Iran. Usually, the country attacks its enemies via its proxies in the region. The New York Times reported on Monday that Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei had told senior officials that the response to Soleimani's death should be a direct attack by Iranian forces themselves. The fact that Iran is taking full credit, this shows just how seriously they took the killing of Soleimani. Second, Al-Assad is an Iraqi base that hosts Iraqi personnel as well as Americans. It's the same one Trump threatened to make Iraq pay for if U.S. troops were forced out. Early reports suggest that there were Iraqi casualties. As such, this could also be viewed as an attack by Iran on the Iraqi state. Iraq's government reacted furiously to the U.S. drone strike last week, casting it as a direct attack on the country's sovereignty and demanding the withdrawal of U.S. forces. Will it react similarly to an attack from Iran? Either way, as the U.S.-Iran showdown gets more dangerous, Iraqis are sadly going to be in the middle of it. Isn't that sickening? We are so far into this endless war. Millions have died. Iraq was starting to be able to pull itself together, and here comes the U.S. meddling in affairs of other countries. It happens with every president. From Bush, Obama dropped more bombs than any other president, and Trump is set to surpass Obama in bombs dropped. I mean, stop thinking about sides left or right and start thinking about human beings and not this idea that the U.S. has some reason to be in that region attacking these people that at the end of the day, millions have died, thousands of children. I just can't imagine why there are still people that are so caught up and supporting this insanity and this mass murder. Blue Star Fall 77 cent super chat, $5. Thank you, Wham, for highlighting the truth. I truly appreciate the super chats. Thank you very much. Make sure to press like if you haven't already. Let's break this news. So as those of you that are just tuning in right now, breaking news: Iran has attacked a U.S. Base in Iraq, close to Iraqi Kurdistan, and apparently dozens of missiles have been shot into the country. Iran has taken blame for it. Now, let's remember that the U.S. has been waging wars against Iran for a long time. You can go back to, one person just wrote, keep calm, man. Geez, I'm not going to be calm when millions of lives are at risk. We should be all very, very angry right now. Jody says, unsub, see you later. I don't support mass murder and organized crime. Now, going back to the 1950s, there have been countless attempts to overthrow the Iranian government. I'm not saying the Iranian government's good, because it isn't. But with that said, the people on the ground have to face this issue the most. And the Iranian coup in the 1950s, there's one of the major examples leading into the Iranian hostage crisis and all that. Jody says, I support America. Jody, I support human life and freedom. Leading into what we've seen with the U.S. arming and funding Iraq against Iran, which caused one of the deadliest, most bloodiest wars in recent history. And of course, the U.S. armed and funded the Ba'athist Party. The Ba'athist Party ended up with all these weapons, and years later, the U.S. used it as a reason to go into Iraq for these weapons of mass destruction, which they had no evidence of, and mass murdered a bunch of people. Now, let me also note that the extremities of the region have been highly propped up by the U.S. government in the first place. The Wahhabism has been propped up. Look at there's a recently viral video of the Egyptian president in the 1950s talking about how the U.S. tried to enforce hijab laws, etc. in the region. Now, that's besides the points, but I'm just seeing comments in the chat that I need to note here. But with that said, the U.S. has been arming and funding terrorist groups forever. Go back to Hitler. They propped up Hitler against the Communist Party. Then they propped up the USSR against Hitler, which ended up killing way more than people than Hitler killed. And then they armed and funded the Mujahideen and later Al-Qaeda against the USSR. They armed and funded the Taliban, brought them to the White House. They're still working with the Taliban and probably Al-Qaeda, as far as I know, as well as ISIS. They've armed and funded ISIS under Obama. Enough of this insanity. The Iranian people do not need bombs dropped on their head. Whatever issue you have with the Iranian government has nothing to do with the U.S. getting involved in another conflict and causing mass murder and more instability and the rise of terrorism again. As ISIS was actually brought to heel to a great extent in the region. I was just in the Middle East, folks, and it's really coming together. It was a beautiful area. It's so much history, so much, information is getting destroyed in the destruction of cultural. By the way, I do have to mention Trump recently. I know it's a CNN story, and I know CNN is garbage, but Trump recently said that he was interested in hitting Iranian cultural sites. Cultural sites, we're talking ancient ruins and stuff. I mean, that's sick, that's wrong, that's exactly what ISIS does, which was armed and funded by the US government in the first place. And recently we did report that there were Iranian protesters on the ground that burned down one of Iran's central banks. And no one's talking about that. What they're trying to do is cause divide and get people on the Trump side who are usually anti-war in favor of war. Danny Williams says, your source CNN? No, my source is the Iranian government saying that they did this. It just happens that there's multiple stories and CNN's one of them. Come on, let's be real here. Press like if you haven't already, folks. We are seeing this breaking news as Iran sends dozens of missiles and hits a U.S. Army base in Iraq after, so long of the U.S. trying to aggravate Iran and cause conflict with Iran going back a century. And here we go onto this next step in this horrifying story that's going to end in millions of people dead if it gets any hotter than it is. And now the U.S. hits it hits Iran and Iraq, causing Iraq to have to deal with more conflict, which they really don't need. And after millions have died, and now Iran has hit the U.S. in Iraq. Iraq recently voted in parliament to kick the United States out. The U.S. initially, it looked like they were going to leave, and then the Pentagon responded and said they aren't going to be leaving anytime soon. And now we have this, and there's a good chance that the U.S. will then consider what they do retaliation, which is absurd, and it's going to end more lives. For those that are just tuning in, as it says, rockets hit Iraq base where U.S. troops are located, and there is footage of the blast that has come out of cell phone video in the region. We'll show some shots here, and you could just see the blast. I'm sorry for the reflection. I can't really do anything about that at the moment, but you could see the blasts happening off of from the region. It was close to Iraqi, it's in Iraqi Kurdistan by Erbil, Iraq, which is really sad because Erbil, Iraq is one of the most peaceful areas of Iraq and has great tourism and is considered just a very inviting place. I'm just sick of this perpetuation of the same old garbage for all this time. Millions of people have died. Millions. And let's just continue this further under the guise of red, white, and blue, left or right. All this political collectivist nonsense is statist nonsense. It's just a perpetuation of mass murder and war by an organized crime racket. And what has Iran done to you? Nothing. It has not done anything to you. The Iranian government may have done things to their people that has nothing to do with the U.S., which everything they claim about Iran can more be said about the U.S. government, considering they've killed practically as many people as Stalin. Shadow banning and censorship on YouTube. I appreciate everyone that's still tuned in military bases in because we have full internet. I have full internet right. Like if you haven't already, helps. Here's the U.S. at and so this thing that we have to keep reporting on this stuff. We've been warning about it for a long time, and it's absolutely horrific that so many people are going to be at the butt end of this and hurt and killed. Anyway, there's a lot of people saying not only is our internet buffering right now, but also that their internet is saying that it's buffering, and it's all sides here. It's unfortunate that we have to deal with such an issue. I hope I'm just going to make sure that no one in my house is currently using bandwidth at the moment. But anyway, so breaking news, Iran has allegedly, according to them, hit the U.S. in Iraq at a base. And there are reports of casualties, mostly reports of Iraqi casualties. We are trying to look into it at this moment, but it's all live, and we are having a hard time getting the latest news as fast as we'd like to. And I'm on my phone here, but I'm doing my best. There is an image here of allegedly the blast from a cell phone camera. And we're getting a lot of comments. Make sure to send in your comments. Shinobi Wan says, wake up tomorrow and see the new world war. It does feel that way, doesn't it? And it's been feeling that way more and more so all the time. Aristos Melopoulos says, you the best. Thank you. I appreciate it. Make sure to press like on this video if you haven't already. Help us get out there with the algorithm. Get above 200 likes here. We lost about 100 viewers due to a glitch that shut our stream down. So hopefully we can keep some people tuned in here to get the latest news as it develops, because I'm refreshing here and trying to find what the latest is. We got something from 2 minutes ago from ABC News, you know, the guys that covered up pedophilia and Jeffrey Epstein. Let's see what they are saying here. As it says, after Iran missile strikes on U.S. military facilities in Iraq, what happens next? And it's an analysis, so it's an op-ed, and you can only imagine what the mainstream media is talking about here. So let's go back to the main news page here. So now it says Iran launches 15 ballistic missiles into Iraq, targeting U.S. coalition forces, officials say. And this is, of course, due to, it's in retaliation for the killing of Qasem Soleimani, who was Iran's top general. Now, Iran isn't one to usually attack back or hit back. So this is unprecedented, folks, and a sign of where we are heading from a proxy war into a hot conflict. And it is so incredibly sad that we have to keep dealing with this insanity and nonstop endless war. Shinobi Wan says, I have nothing to repent except that I am human. AW11 Roman says, shadow banned. I would love to see such a day. Tom Lee says, so there have been 2 attacks, it seems, an hour apart, Reuters says. Yeah, let's get back to the most recent news, which, I mean, Michael Moore is definitely not the most recent news here. Let's see. After missile launch, Iran leader tweets flag like Trump did after Soleimani death. So they have coined this attack after Soleimani. Some people are saying, is it a false flag? Well, Iran is taking full blame for it. As we see here, if this webpage loads, Iran launches more than a dozen missiles into Iraq, targeting U.S. coalition forces, Pentagon says. And of course, Fox is going to be far more in favor of it, and CNN will lie but be against it. You know how it is these days with the divide between all the sides of the mainstream media. But anyway, let's get into the most recent up-to-date reports here. Trump, Pence have visited U.S. military bases attacked Tuesday by Iranian missiles. Well, so a big thing that I need to ask is why was the U.S. there in the first place? So this U.S. contractor died, and I feel bad for his family, and may he rest in peace. But why was a contractor there in the first place? As I've said, as this breaking news says, Iran has allegedly, according to themselves, attacked a U.S. base in Iraq that apparently Pence and Trump have visited in the past. Now, there are reports of casualties, but so far I'm only seeing reports of Iraqi casualties, which, I mean, human life is human life. And millions have died in that region thanks to the military-industrial complex and this all-out constant perpetuation of war and destruction. This isn't 4D chess, guys. This is sick. People have died. Millions have died. Thousands of children have died. Let's put an end to this insanity. We're seeing crypto and gold go up pretty significantly. Stock markets tank. One thing I do have to note is that this all started after a U.S. contractor was killed by an Iranian-backed militia. That Iranian-backed militia was attacked, was going after ISIS in the region and Al-Qaeda. And anyway, what happened was the U.S. retaliated by hitting and killing 25 Iranian-backed militiamen. And that led to the embassy being taken over in Baghdad, and that led to the U.S. Killing Soleimani, Iran's top commander, which the Ayatollah and Rouhani in Iran had pledged that he would get revenge for. So fast forward, here we are. Now Iran has attacked a U.S. base in Iraq. Iraq had just told, told the U.S. government to leave their country, and the U.S. government has refused, according to the Pentagon. Now, of course, Iraq was once armed and funded under Saddam Hussein and the Ba'athist Party against Iran, leading to a very bloody war in the region because the U.S. gets entangled in everything. And on top of that, you have the U.S. propping up Hitler against the Communist Party, the USSR propped up by the U.S. against Hitler, and then later on, the Mujahideen and Al-Qaeda armed and funded against the USSR. Barry White says Iran hasn't attacked anyone in over 400 years. I mean, technically true, they are not a good government. No government is. But the U.S. has no business, judging any countries, considering they've killed millions in the last 20 years and have spread nothing but chaos in the Middle East. And thousands of U.S. troops have died as well, and it's caused incredible amounts of danger for people in the U.S. These nations were in no way after the U.S., and people say, well, Obama was working with Iran and had that nuclear deal. You're right, he was, and Obama was a piece of trash who bombed more countries than any president in history. But with that said, that doesn't change the fact that that he was in fact trying to cause conflict with Iran all the while. That's what the U.S. does. They meddle, they entangle themselves, and you can't say because he worked with them that he wasn't trying to attack them. Obama was working with Libya and pledging support for Libya alongside Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, while pledging to take down Libya and ending up getting Gaddafi killed by his people. I mean, anyway. You can find in the description of this video, by the way, t-shirts that say "No War in Iran" at our Teespring store. Help support independent media and help put the message out there that we do not want more mass murder and more destabilization of the Middle East and trillions of dollars spent. And by the way, Jody, you're saying working with Libya, moron. Well, great argument there, Jody. The fact of the matter is this is communism, this is big government, this is globalism, this is a military-industrial complex, and all these people that were anti-war under Bush suddenly supported and sat on their hands under Obama. Then all these people that were anti-war under Obama on the other side are now sitting on their hands under Trump, like this is all part of a plan and that they're just stopping the deep state. My God, how many times are we going to go through this before we learn? I mean, Steve O says, calm down. I'm not going to calm down. Millions will die if this perpetuates. Millions have already died from it perpetuating. I'm sick and freaking tired of the organized crime rackets of the world mass murdering, taking poppy seeds and ending up, creating a huge heroin trade in the U.S. Pat Tillman got killed for trying to come out about that. And I mean, attacking their own military, all these people in the military coming home, ending up killing themselves on all these pharmaceuticals at the same time as millions have died in the Middle East, all these terrorists armed and funded. I mean, my God, how many times are we going to go through all of this? And people are telling me that I'm fear-mongering. Fear-mongering? Is it fear-mongering that millions of people have already died? Is that fear-mongering? It doesn't seem like fear-mongering to me. It seems like facts that some people are unwilling to accept because they want to confirm their own biases and bow down to whatever leader that they want to submit to as collectivism and statism goes. War is murder, taxation is theft, government is organized crime. Enough of these wars. Jody says, what happens if they get a nuke? What happens if the U.S. gets a nuke? What happens if all these other countries get a nuke? You realize that Iran is partnered with Russia too, right? You realize this is not just an attack on Iran, it's an attack on Russia, right? I mean, I'm overreacting? No, I'm not. I'm not overreacting. Millions have died. God damn, we should have been more overreacting 15, 20 years ago, before millions of people died. This isn't fear-mongering. This is fact. Millions have died. If you want to call that fear-mongering or overreacting, then I'm sorry for you, and I'm sorry for your subservience and apathy. For those that are just tuning in, make sure to press like on this video. I really appreciate any help we can get to get into the algorithm, as we are shadow banned heavily here at Wham. Find us on float.app, that's flote.app. James Hassanflug says he's not fear-mongering. You don't know the truth of your slavery. I appreciate your support. Blue Star Fall 77 sent $5 in the super chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate those super chats. It's the only thing we go on, as YouTube has brought us down 97% in monetization since January last year and cut our audience by over 85% under the guise of stopping controversial content, according to YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki. So any help you can do helping us out in the links or super chats really does make it possible for us to oppose and reject these constant wars. So in the super chat, Blue Star Fall 77 said that's their plan: depopulation and crashing the economy, so the rest of us will be dependent on them. Well, absolutely, the economy needs a war after all, and that's something that's a huge part of this whole thing. As the U.S. goes into negative interest rates, job numbers are faked, hidden in the labor force participation rate, and interest rates around the world are looking to negative. We're talking about the everything bubble, the biggest collapse of the economy we've ever seen in history, and perpetuated by printing of currency. It's just absolutely terrible. Anyway, make sure to press like on this video if you haven't already. Traveling Leaf says, no, you are not fear-mongering. I appreciate your passionate, warranted anger against the evil schemes of the world. I wish more people would shout down this insanity of mass murder. Millions have died, and I'm supposed to be here calm and patient about it. Anyway, let's just break. So for those that are just tuning in, breaking news: Iran has shot over a dozen missiles and attacked a U.S. base in Iraq, which has, there's apparently casualties. From the casualties I see, they were Iraqi casualties. Iraqi parliament just voted to kick the U.S. And kick the U.S. out of their country. However, people have, the U.S. has rejected this. And anyway, let's get to the main stories here. I'm refreshing the most up-to-date stories on this and trying to give you the latest news on it. And unfortunately, we're stuck with a lot of mainstream medias, but that's why we are here as independent media breaking this down, so we don't have the U.S. Mainstream media, British mainstream media, French and Australian, trying to prop up wars and propagate war and propaganda, as they usually do. As this article says, Iran attacks Iraqi military base home to U.S. troops. It's a U.S. base technically in Iraq, but there's a bunch of Iraqis and contractors on the base. And I'm trying to find information on a death toll here, and there's potentially more strikes that have been happening. But it's all very scattered, and the information we're getting is from governments, both the Iranian, Iraqi, and U.S. government, which is shady at best. As it says here, Iran has launched missile strikes against 2 Iraqi military bases housing U.S. forces in retaliation to the airstrike that killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani 5 days ago. More than a dozen ballistic missiles targeted the Al-Assad and Erbil military bases, the Pentagon said, and U.S. officials are assessing the damage. It's unclear if there were any casualties, but other stories say there were casualties. And as it says here, the Al-Assad Air Base houses about 1,500 U.S. and coalition forces. The base was on high alert and paused their operation against ISIS several days ago, fearing a revenge attack by Iran. And you know what's crazy? When they killed Soleimani, they said their reasoning for it was to keep U.S. troops safe in the region, to stop further attacks, to stabilize the region. I mean, think of the mental gymnastics and absurdity of thinking that literally killing one of Iran's top leaders was going to stabilize the region and make Americans safe in the region. It's so absurd. Jody, whatever, you're a slave. You can keep promoting war in the chat. I don't really care. I'm kind of sick of your uneducated, childish comments. By the way, for those just tuning in, make sure to press like on this video. The Iranian government isn't a good government, but that doesn't change the fact that no governments are. It doesn't change the fact that these are innocent people on the ground that are going to feel the wrath at the end of the day. Millions have died in Iraq, and to support the notion of more attacks in the Middle East, David Tudor says the deep state has struck again. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, what's more deep state and more globalist than the military-industrial complex global governance system? Jody says zero arguments back. You're not giving me anything to argue. You're just saying stupid, uneducated crap. Anyway, quite a QT Patriot says yes, Obama is to blame for that. Obama was trying to create or cause a war with Iran when he was in office. He just also did a nuclear deal. That nuclear deal was so-called sweetheart deal, but he also made many deals with Libya before overthrowing Gaddafi and having him assassinated. Obviously, I mean, Obama was big on destabilizing the region, but we shouldn't blame Obama generally because he was a puppet for the military-industrial complex. And hey, Trump is too. Let's see, not only with a prohibition, take the guns first, due process second, but bombing countries, and he's actually set to surpass Obama on most bombs dropped by the end of his presidency at the rate he's currently going. So if people want to be a slave to this propaganda and this nonsense about, Trump is trying to stop the deep state by bombing people in the Middle East, give your head a shake, folks. How many times do you have to go through this? It's ridiculous. Just people with confirmation bias trying so hard to aid their stupid ideas about how Trump is somehow going to stop the global order when he's supporting the global order. He says he's a globalist and a nationalist, and he's a huge supporter of the Israeli government. Doctor of Red Pills sent $2 in the super chat, says, I'm not fighting a rich man's war. Damn right, none of us should, and we should reject this wholeheartedly. Thank you so much for the super chat. Jody says, hang him for treason. Hang who for treason? Go into if you want to help support independent media, heavily shadow ban, trying to oppose this craziness of war and propaganda by the military-industrial complex. Please consider supporting us. We have Float.app, another social media, replacing Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Tumblr, Reddit, and Patreon all in one with encrypted messaging, super chats on their live streams, and monetization on their videos. Go check that out. Big news coming there. I do, independent videos that are specifically for Float.app. That's flote.app. Find our links below. Patreon, Subscribe Star, GoFundMe, Super Chats here. Anything that helps guys to keep independent media alive as they have bankrupted us, causing me to have to sell all my things. I'm going to sell everything I have, go homeless, and move to the other side of the world on $150 to $250 a month rents through Airbnb with all bills covered so that I can continue bringing you up-to-date stories like this. So anyway, back to the breaking news. As the breaking news is just coming out, breaking after all, we're having a really hard time keeping up with it because it's just all across the board. Raj88 says, what U.S. is doing in the Middle East? Destabilizing it, creating order out of chaos as always. Mrs. B, Stacy says, you're moving. Yeah, I have no choice. YouTube has bankrupted me by demonetizing me, shadow banning me about over 80% since January of last year, and demonetizing me 97% since January last year, considering it controversial content. Anyway, back to the news. Iran has hit the U.S. In Iraq. And Jody says, good, well done, YouTube. You sure do love free speech and stuff. No, you support communism and muzzling of free speech. Well, that's great, Jody. You really show yourself to be a great representation of Trump supporters. As the latest news shows, Iran has launched, and I'll put it on the screen here. I apologize for shooting it with my cell phone here. Iran launches 15 ballistic missiles into Iraq, targeting U.S. coalition forces, officials say, and we're going to go into it a bit here. I apologize if the internet's a little bit glitchy, but we will do our best as we have been getting hit hard right now as we try to live stream this, even though our internet says it's 100%. All right, if I could just scroll up, if it would just let me scroll up, I can read the article. Iran fired as many as 15 ballistic missiles into Iraq, targeting U.S. military and coalition forces early Wednesday, officials said, in a major retaliation by the rogue regime after the U.S. airstrike that killed Iranian Quds Force General Qasem Soleimani last week. 10 missiles hit Al-Assad Air Base One missile hit a military base in Erbil, and 4 missiles failed, according to U.S. military spokesman for Central Command, responsible for American forces in the Middle East. The attacks unfolded in 2 waves, each about an hour apart. Initial assessments showed no U.S. casualties, a U.S. military official in Baghdad told Fox News. So here we have the perpetuation of something that we've been watching for decades. The 7-country plan by General Wesley Clark, folks. Let's go back to the beginning. So basically what happened was the U.S. has been going after Iran forever. Iranian missile coup in the 1950s, going into the Iranian hostage crisis, arming and funding the Iraqi Ba'athist Party against Iran, causing one of the bloodiest wars in history. And on top of that, let's see what's next here. This is what the most recent news is. Back in June of 2019, the U.S. attempted to stage with Israel a false flag attack, at least it seemed that way, against a Japanese ship and another foreign ship in the Gulf of Oman, like the Gulf of Tonkin incident in the Vietnam, which ended up being a false flag. What happened next was that the Japanese ship owner said that wasn't Iran. The news flew out the window. They weren't able to utilize that. Fast forward to December of 2019, and what happened was Iranian militants accidentally killed a U.S. contractor in Iraq. Now, we have to point out that, I mean, I feel bad for him and his family, but why was he there in the first place? Why are these people still in Iraq? Trump did say he was going to be pulling out of Iraq. Well, here you are. In fact, Trump said only a weak president who's going into the next election would attack Iran or try to start a war with Iran. He said it multiple times on Twitter. The news, the videos of him saying that have been going everywhere about Obama, and here we are. Then move into the latest news. The U.S. hit 25 Iranian militiamen. Those militiamen were attacking ISIS in the region, and that led to a bunch of people storming the embassy in Baghdad. Now, after that happened, the U.S. took back the embassy, pushed the protesters out of the green zone over to the other side of the Tigris River. Now, what came out of that was the U.S. attacking and killing Soleimani, which was probably the worst advice I've ever seen Trump have, and that led to Iran vowing revenge. I mean, you're killing one of their top leaders. That's essentially the same thing as killing Mike Pence in general forum. And it's just absolutely insane. Of course, they say they didn't declare war. Well, there have been no wars declared, technically speaking, since 1942 by the U.S. But what we do see is obvious attempts by anyone with any logic, seeing that that they waged war by killing Soleimani. Jody says, did you support killing Osama? Osama died long before the alleged death of him in 2011. Let's be real here. Come on. For anyone just tuning in, there is breaking news. Make sure to press like on this video if you haven't already, and support independent media by checking those links below. I appreciate it, guys. So the breaking news is Iran has allegedly, according to them, they have said that they did indeed do this, as a revenge for the death of Soleimani, attacked a couple bases, technically, in Iraq. Apparently, there are some casualties of Iraqis, none that I see yet of U.S. troops. But obviously, it's interesting because, the U.S. or Iran has been very resistant to actually attacking the U.S. Obviously, for obvious reasons, they would be destroyed. But they were also partnered up with Russia and China, which we should definitely be looking at. And also, China is set to overtake the U.S. in power in the next decade. So, with their social credit system, technocracy, all that kind of stuff, that's to be concerned about. Though, what empire is good? None of them. It's all statism. It's all collectivism. It's all cancer. You can buy a shirt linked below, No War in Iran, from our Teespring store. So make sure to check those out and support independent media. And make sure to press like on this video if you haven't already. A $2.99 super chat from Chrisley G. Thank you so much for the super chat. It means a lot to us. It's the only way we make any money here at WHAM anymore, as YouTube has demonetized and shadow banned us to death. But anyway, Iran has just found a ridiculous amount of oil, billions of barrels of oil in Iran, and obviously it's interesting following this announcement that the U.S. would go and spread some freedom by killing some innocent people over there. On top of that, we've seen recently news out of the U.S. Regarding the Afghanistan papers. The Afghanistan papers showed that the whole Afghanistan war was based on a lie. It's out there. It's declassified. It's leaked. It's there for everyone to see. To look up the Afghanistan papers. On top of that, the Syrian dossier also showed that there was a sex-up dossier created by the State Department and Pentagon in order to push people into supporting the public into supporting war with Syria, with no evidence of Assad actually gassing his own people. The U.S. is known for false flags. It's known for perpetuation of war. We know the 7-country plan by General Wesley Clark that's been out there in the news for years. It's all evident, and the U.S. has killed millions of people in the Middle East in the last 20 years. How many more deaths are we going to sit back and accept? How many more times are we going to believe this insane military-industrial complex globalist control racket? How long are we going to accept the order out of chaos? How long are we going to sit back and not see that obviously the economy needs a war, the monetary system needs a war, and they're going to perpetuate it as much as possible? Jody says America is attacked and he supports them. Why is America in the region, Jody? Why have millions of people died? Are you completely brain dead? Millions have died. You support murdering children, innocent children? Is that what you support? Because if you do, you know what? I hope you are one of the first to sacrifice yourself for this war and go fight in the Middle East. Anyway, people are telling me to calm down. It's the only, Justin B says, why focus on Jody? It's one of the only things I'm seeing on the screen popping up here. They're not showing me all the chat. Anyway, people say calm down. I'm not going to calm down when millions have died, and there's a possibility of millions more dying. Why on earth would I not be angry and riled up by that? Do you know how many children have been killed? Do you know how many chemical bombs have been dropped? Do you know how many lives have been ruined? Do you know how destabilized the country is? Do you know how they ended up arming and funding ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban in the region, causing more instability, leading to more perpetual war? It's called the Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution, repeat for eternity, folks. And how much longer are we going to sit apathetic, sitting on our hands, waiting for it to all just be over with? It takes us standing up and rejecting this insanity. And unfortunately, the media is really good at brainwashing people, no matter what side they are on, to support confirmation bias over civility and consistency. And it's truly disgusting and sad. Kent Lawson says, you're falling apart, Josh. I don't know what you're talking about. People said I don't look so good. Well, Kent did. I'm fine. I'm tired. I've been up all day, and this news broke, and here I am on YouTube reporting it. So for those that just tuning in, make sure to press like if you haven't already. Breaking news: Iran has hit the U.S. in Iraq, and it's due to the killing of Soleimani. Jody says, "What would you do, Josh? Not be all over the Middle East, massacring millions of people and killing children? That seems like a good. That seems like a good bet, doesn't it?" So the breaking news is Iran has hit the U.S. in Iraq. Iraq had just voted to kick the U.S. out of their country after years of destabilizing and killing millions of people there, as well as thousands of U.S. soldiers and spending trillions of dollars. And they go into deficit spending. They end up printing a bunch of currency. Arms manufacturers pump, and we know the rest. They arm and fund terrorists in the region as rebels, and they end up being the biggest cause of danger for the U.S. So then they end up utilizing that as more of a reason to go into the region. Look at these stupid. Why don't you F off and move to Iran? Why don't you move to Iran? You seem to want to fight a battle and send off children to go get killed, to kill other innocent people in another country that have nothing to do with their government. You want freedom and won't fight for it. I'm fighting for freedom right now as I'm speaking against the mass murder of innocent people. I mean, how is it? You are fighting for the opposite of freedom. You're fighting for collectivism, slavery, and mass murder of children. And I hope you go to hell, Jody. Let's get back to the latest news. So Iran launches 15 ballistic missiles into Iraq, targeting U.S. coalition forces, officials say. Kent Lawson says, I'm serious, Josh. You have really changed. You're a nervous wreck. Not a nervous wreck. I'm calling out mass murder. I don't know why people can't comprehend such simplicity. Barry White says, "I'd love to live in Iran." Yeah, well, it's considered one of the most inviting countries in the world. And also, when I was in the Sahara Desert a while back ago, um, I met some Italian woman, a blonde woman who had traveled to every country in the world. She had been through all of these countries since the '60s and never once. Are you trying to dox me $1,000 for Josh's location? Oh man, thousand doxing. Let me just get rid of Jody here. Um, all right, unwanted commercial spam. Let's see. Okay. Anyway, back to what I was saying here. When I was in the Sahara Desert, I met an Italian woman, a blonde woman who had been to every country in the world. Um, she went through every country since the 1960s, and I asked her what was the greatest place that you've ever been, and she said. And by the way, she'd always travel alone, never once got attacked in any of these countries, but people are in a bubble in the United States and Canada and Britain, unfortunately. But anyway, as she said, the country I would love to live in most was Iran and Afghanistan. She said, I was treated better there than anywhere else in the world. People gave me a home, fed me, bought me clothes without me asking. People were poor and were giving me things. She said, most inviting country. They didn't want anything in return, all that kind of stuff. People are so in a bubble and don't understand these people in the US. People don't understand people in Iran and in this region. I was in the Middle East about 2 months ago, less than 2 months ago, on the Syrian border by Iraq as well, in Turkey. And the people of the region, what we heard on the news was Trump pulled out and the Kurds are mad at Trump because they betrayed him. No, you talk to Kurds there and they're like, no, we didn't want the U.S. to be there. We were about to overthrow Saddam Hussein. The U.S. came in, destroyed the country, and ended up forcing us to work with them or die. So then we ended up collaborating with the U.S. because we were at risk of being killed if we didn't. That is the truth that people aren't talking about. Go figure, because the mainstream media won't tell you that. But that's what the Kurdish people on the ground told me. Robert Carr sent £5 in the super chat. Thank you so much, Robert. I truly, truly appreciate it. And those super chats are the only thing that keeps us alive here at WHAM. If you haven't already, make sure to press like and check those links below. Join us on flote.app, flote.app, and help keep independent media alive as we are being shadow banned and demonetized to death. Radek L says Iran people are very hospitable, one of the nicest people in the world. I 100% agree from every experience I've had. Also, Iraqi people as well, the Kurdish people in or near Erbil, or in Erbil in Iraqi Kurdistan, which, by the way, is very close to where this attack happened today. And it's hard not to get emotional thinking about all the people that are going to be hurt by this and used as collateral damage, just non-stop mass murder in the region. Millions have died, and the perpetuation of these governments sacrificing their pawns for the king and the queen, and all for oil, poppies, their monetary system, deficit spending, and propping up dictatorships, proxy wars, supportive of the U.S. global order and the British world order in the region. It's sickening, it's disgusting, and people just perpetually support it because they support whatever loser is in office, a puppet at the top, the head of the crime racket that's just a talking head that keeps people distracted while they mass murder people in the region. Matt Spencer, $2.07 Canadian in the super chat, says, cheers, Josh. Thank you so much, Matt. You're awesome. I really appreciate the support. You guys are amazing for helping out in any way you can. That just keeps us up and running here at WHAM. JDUSMCJD says, LOL, RIP Iran. They're about to burn hard. You ever see the before and after photos, though, of Libya before and after, Iraq before and after? They had destroyed the countries, just absolutely sent them back to the Stone Ages. Sent armed and funded terrorist groups in the region. It's just so sick. People support this, especially Christians. How can a Christian support this? It's so disgusting. I just can't stand it anymore. And then they're like, but now there's this crisis in the region and refugees and all that. Where do you think those refugees are coming from? Listen to the Egyptian president in the 1950s talk about how the U.S. came in there and tried to demand. They pushed laws to make people wear hijabs and burqas and all that kind of stuff. That was the U.S. created the extremities we see today. It was never like totally civil. And the governments are always bad. All governments are terrible. All governments are organized crime, taxation is theft, and war is murder. But you can't help but notice that they create order out of chaos, a Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution, repeat for eternity. Andrew Cannon says, Josh, no offense, bro, but you are wrong about some of this. We shouldn't be over there for sure, but it's not as clear cut as you're putting it. Well, you have to you have to like tell me exactly what I'm saying wrong, because then I can't really, um, debate that at all. Blue pilled kebab says, calm down, baby X. Millions have died. I'm not going to calm down because this risks millions more lives and the more destruction of a region, and will put them back another 20 years. I'm sick of it. And on top of that, it helps arm and fund terrorists. Uh, Harrison Dunn says terrorist lover. Terrorist lover. I just don't support the U.S. going and creating extreme Wahhabism in the region, arming and funding terrorists and destroying mass murdering people. Joshua Large says, "Are you an anarchist?" Absolutely, voluntarist. It's the only moral way to live as free human beings under voluntary contractual, private contract rule, not by the use of force and organized crime and extortion and collectivism and 51% ruling the 49%. That's just absolutely disgusting. KC says no, that Iran was a terrorist. I don't support the Iranian government. I've said it enough times, and I'll say it again. I don't support the Iran government. I don't support any government. Mawa Maverick says Egypt, another country destabilized. Absolutely, over and over again for a century, from the crown to the U.S. government to Saudi Arabia. But anyway, I'm just so sick of all this mass murder in the region, and I don't know why people think I should calm down. Everyone should get a bit more angry. We are just sitting subservient like a bunch of slaves, a bunch of stupid, weak, dependent slaves, allowing this to perpetuate. It's disgusting. Check out our shirts below. No war in Iran. We got lots at our Teespring store. Show your opposition to this insanity in the region. I don't support the Iran government. I don't support the U.S. government mass murdering millions of people. It doesn't seem that crazy to me, but for some reason people seem to think that somehow this should perpetuate. Have you been watching geopolitics over the last 20, 40, 100 years? I mean, how many times do you have to go through this? Just problem, reaction, solution, repeat. Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution, repeat for eternity. It's absurd. It's disgusting. Millions have died. Children, many thousands of children. Do you know the child rate in that region? Like, just a huge percentage of them are under 16. Anyway, if you just joined us, make sure to press like on this video. I appreciate everyone joining us. The breaking news is Iran has hit the U.S. in Iraq. And I'm going to try and find the latest news, see what happened. And so it makes me sad. It's just really saddening. Sin City Taoist sent $5 in the super chat. Says, the more we destabilize a region, the more of the productive who can create change will either leave or be killed. Absolutely true. I appreciate the super chat. It means a lot to us, and it keeps us up and running. Chrissy says, whatever, go Trump. That's slave talk. Just close your eyes, ears, and mouth and support war endlessly because Trump did it? Seriously? That's slavery. That is so stupid. That's exactly how the anti-war people under Bush, acted under Obama. It's a perpetuation, and you don't understand. You don't seem to understand that you are being used as a pawn. You are being used as a willing pawn, as a supporter of this massive global order. Trump is not destroying the global order. He called himself a globalist. He also is supporting taking away guns, gun control. He is pushing prohibition, and he's bombing people in the Middle East. Casey says pizza advocate. What are you talking about? I mean, how many times do we have to go through this? People just want to perpetuate whatever makes them comfortable and subservient, and it's about time you step away. Even Tucker Carlson's coming out against Trump for this. Even Ann Coulter is coming out against it. I mean, like, come on. It's absolutely absurd. Blue-pilled kebab says, prove it. Prove what? Can you prove that Trump is secretly under the wraps using 4D chess to get around the global order? I mean, he's bombing people and he's set to surpass Obama in most bombs dropped. I'm going to be consistent no matter how many people I lose, how many subscribers I lose. I will always call this out. I don't support killing children. I don't support causing more wars. I don't support arming and funding terrorists in the region. I don't support perpetual proxy wars and hot wars killing millions of people. How is this rocket science? And who are these people that are suddenly supporting war because it's Trump? Trump said himself when Obama was president, Obama will try to go to war with Iran. It's a weak move for someone who cannot negotiate in order to get reelected. He said that himself. Trump said that himself. And here we are. The Anon of Ancapistan says, I suggest looking into agorism and voluntarism. I am a voluntarist, but I agree. Make sure to press like if you haven't already. Matt Spence says, Trump said all was well, whatever that means. Yeah, whatever that means. That's right. It's absurd. Sank Tengel says, watch, just watch. And the thing is, I just don't trust the plan. I am being consistent. If it turns out that Trump has some weird thing where he's getting rid of the global state and, whatever, I'd like to see it, but he killed the sister, or the daughter of Al-Awlahi, and all these people that are against Obama when Obama killed the son of Al-Awlahi suddenly went away when when Trump killed the daughter of Al-Awlahi. I mean, it's just this inconsistency, and it's disgusting. Anyway, let's see the most recent news. I'm trying to get the most recent, but there's very little coming out as we talk. We got BBC News and then The Hill 19 minutes ago. Well, here we go. Here we go, guys. Here's more breaking news, and I'll put it up on the screen here. Graham, Iran missile attack, an act of war. Lindsey Graham, the neocon war hawk, has been super supportive of going to war with Iran. I'm pretty sure John Bolton had to go to the hospital for a boner lasting more than 4 hours. Senator Lindsey Graham, as this article says, called Iran's decision to launch missiles at Iraqi bases that house U.S. military personnel an act of war, and warned that unless Tehran backs down, they will be out of the oil business. And I quote, this was an act of war by any responsible definition, Graham said during an interview with Fox News' Sean Hannity. The president has all the authority he needs under Article 2 to respond. Well, actually, no wars have been declared since 1942. And since when does a federal government and a republic act over the Congress and declaring war? Anyway, Graham, a top ally of President Trump's in the Senate, said the president should be focused on trying to restore deterrence, and that the president wants behavioral changes from the Iranian government, but not regime change. Gotta love, how the neocons are supporting Trump, and all these Trump supporters that were anti-war suddenly are like, oh yeah, all bow down to Trump. He's just protecting America. That's what they said under Bush. And it never ends. It never ends. It just never ends. It's just so sickening. It's just a perpetuation of mass murder and war by an organized crime racket called government, no matter who the figurehead is. And of course, Rand Paul's calling this out, rightly so. I don't know. When it's Bush, the left is like, down with Bush. And the writer like, yeah, Bush is helping America. And then under Obama, the anti-war left suddenly becomes pro-war. Yay, Obama is just protecting America. And the writer like, down with Obama. And now under Trump, the anti-war right are like, oh, well, he's just protecting America. This has been going on forever as democracy since ancient Greece. It's sickening. It's disgusting. It never ends. When will people learn? Can't people see they're being used as the talking head pawns for this world order by being apathetic, sitting on their hands, thinking all is fine because Trump is destroying the deep state? Well, that doesn't look like it when you're bombing countries and causing these wars. Kent Lawson sent $10 in the super chat. Thank you so much. He says, God loves you more than you know, Josh. You cannot stop prophecy. Please calm down. I can't calm down. I really appreciate the super chat. It goes a long way, and it's the only thing that keeps us alive anymore. Lord Humongous says central banks for Iran. Actually, protesters burned down one of the central banks in Iran a couple months ago, which I reported on at the time. Not a lot of people are talking about it. Anyway, I'm just so disgusted by this perpetual warfare. and people are getting so mad and sending childish messages. Long way in the gay bar, says Harrison Dunn. Like, just sending childish messages, because I'm consistent and I'll always be consistent. And that's how you know I won't sell out. I've been offered huge money by mainstream media as I turn them down, and I've gone homeless because of it, because I refuse to accept other people's talking points. I'm going to be consistent in my belief in freedom and individual liberty. Smooth TW8 says Trump didn't create it. No, he didn't create it, but this is current day right now, and he assassinated Soleimani, who may not have been a good guy, but it doesn't matter. What does the U.S., what business does the U.S. have to do with over there, and why are they killing one of Iran's top leaders? And they're like, oh, Iran's attacking us. They're a dangerous superpower. Well, maybe it's because you killed one of their top leaders. I don't support Iran's government, as I said before, but I certainly don't support mass murder from the U.S. government and military-industrial complex that's killed millions of people out there. If you haven't already, make sure to press like. Andrew Ryan says Trump is controlled opposition. Why don't you guys get it yet? People are super brainwashed. They just want to be comfortable in their slumber. It's disgusting. Israel's in on this. Saudi Arabia is in on this. Lord Humongous says, Josh, whose basement are you living in? I'm living in my house that I rent, that I'm getting rid of so that I can continue making videos on YouTube. And you can make jokes about me all you want, but it's called principle. And I like sleeping at night, and I'm happy being me. I don't care how much or how little money I have. So people can make fun of me for that. I mean, joke's on you guys. If you want to support mass war and murder, then cool, good for you. You are a piece of trash. Sorry. Anyway, if you haven't already, make sure to press like on this video. Check those links below. Help support independent media all you can. I'm going to be working as a nomad, posting videos daily from wherever I am in the world. Harrison Dunn is unable to get a job. No, unable to support myself when I'm being censored by the state and the state entities like YouTube. You can make any jokes you want about that. I really, really don't care. I feel comfortable and happy with who I am and being consistent, and I can sleep at night. And getting a real job, sharing information on freedom and how people can be self-sustainable, responsible, free human beings, and not supporting mass murder and war in a time when all these independent medias are going under because we're not allowed to talk about these issues anymore. I feel good talking about it regardless of how little money I have. Laughing Cedar Woman says he thinks tax is theft. It is, and if you don't, then you are a slave with Stockholm Syndrome. Anyway, I really appreciate everyone joining us today. Make sure to press like if you haven't already. I'm going to be consistent no matter how many people unsubscribe and attack me because I'm consistent. I don't support war. Sorry. That is the way it is. Harrison Dunn says Harrison is Jody. Cool story. I'm never going to let down my principles. So, whatever. Being called crazy, that sounds like a badge of honor from someone who supports murdering millions of people. Who's really crazy? You sound like a psychopath. David Tudor says, good luck when you move. I appreciate it. Thank you. Harrison Dunn says, bet your parents are proud. Well, one of them is in the chat right now, so... Seeb Razib says millions. Yeah, millions of people have been killed in the Iraq War by the U.S. military-industrial complex, global superpowers. So, anyway, you can support mass murder and be inconsistent, or you can support freedom and individualism and not suddenly to be comfortable in your slumber with a certain talking head or leader support mass murder. I mean, but people are so easily slaves. They want to be comfortable with ignorance rather than uncomfortable with the task of understanding or being principled in their system, like being shunned by every side, left and right, like I am. I'm fine with that as long as I can sleep at night. It's not what other people think about me. It's what I think of myself, and if I can actually sleep at night. Christopher O sent $5 in the super chat. Says, keep doing what you're doing, Josh. Thank you so much, Christopher. You are awesome, and you are the change you wish to see, and I appreciate your support. Those super chats go a long way here, and it's the only thing that keeps us up and running. Mr. B says, top man, Josh. Thank you very much. I appreciate all of the support. Make sure to press like if you haven't already on this video. Yik Yak says, I will pray for you. I thank you, and I really appreciate to support everyone. Cynthia Karen says there will be no change. Josh, sorry, I disagree. Kent Lawson sent another $10 in the super chat. Thank you so much, Kent. You're awesome. Says you folks send this kid some money if you want to put your 2 cents in, but some money behind it. Don't be freeloaders. I really appreciate your support, and you guys are awesome. LC King says you're a legend, mate. You're all legends for being consistent and supporting individual freedom and liberty. Those willing, as Benjamin Franklin once said, to give up even a little bit of liberty for a little bit of temporary security will get and deserve neither, and it's never been more the case than we see today. Nick Mulonlabe sent $10 in the super chat. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate your support, guys. Those super chats are literally the only way we're monetized today, because YouTube has basically demonetized us almost 100%, and it's the only thing keeping us up and running. They've cut us down. Well, actually, 97% demonetized. Violaman, sorry for pronouncing this wrong, says help Josh out to do what he does. I truly appreciate it. And you could check out our links below, Bitcoin, and different ways to support us, including GoFundMe, Patreon, subscribe, start pledging monthly to help keep us alive, because we're not long for this world on YouTube, that's for sure. So join us on float.app, flote.app. I really, truly appreciate it. Lord Humongous says gold jumped over 1,600 an ounce. Yeah, well, so is crypto. I mean, it's big because people are worried about not only the economy collapsing, but all-out war, World War III, which I think has been going on already for a long time. Venom Bane sent $4.99 in the super chat. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate that. You are awesome. Kate Catanella said, hi, Josh. All these people that are helping in the super chat are seriously making it possible for me to continue speaking out against war. You can get a No War in Iran shirt, by the way, in our Teespring store below. If you check those out in the links, we have lots of merchandise. LC King sent Australian $14.99. Thank you so much. I really, truly appreciate it. And my thoughts are with all of you in Australia right now. It's very saddening what's happening. There's a lot of chaos in the world, and I think there are more solutions than problems, but we have to assess those carefully. But I truly appreciate the super chats. It means a lot to me. Mitchell Pinnell sent $2 in the super chat. Fake news tried to push that 30 U.S. troops died, DYS. Yeah, I haven't seen anything on that. I've seen Iraqis have died, but nonetheless, human lives are human lives, and I really appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much. Lord Humongous says Australia got some rain today. Well, let's hope for lots more. Seeb Razib says, what are your thoughts on Virginia? Another attempt by the U.S. government and the state, the collectivist racket, the organized crime racket we know as a state, to disarm people so that not only can they not defend themselves, but they can't have free speech, and they are unable to speak out about things like what we see in the world, in Iran, in Syria, and elsewhere. It's sickening and needs to be called out. But anyway, I really appreciate those super chats. Make sure to press like on this video if you haven't already. It means a lot. And again, YouTube has cut us down 97% in monetization. And Michael Burnin says half the people here are trolls. Tell me about it. And over 85% now in viewership on average since January of 2019. Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, said herself that she successfully and proudly cut down views on controversial content by 70%, and we've been more than that. So they are trying to silence us. So join us on float.app and support us any way you can. It really, truly means a lot to us. David Tudor sent $20 in the super chat and says, keep up the good work. Thank you so much, David. You are awesome, and you are the change you wish to see, and you are keeping independent media alive. And I believe independent media is stopping, and not just myself, but all the others as well, stopping mass murder and the death of millions of people if we keep on speaking out and infiltrate the mainstream narratives that are regurgitated from mainstream media to the mouths of the people, left or right. Riaz says, love from Iraq. Love to you as well. I wanted to go to Iraq, and I still plan on going to Iraq soon, regardless of what my family thinks about that, because Iraq is one of the most incredible, beautiful countries in the world, has some of the greatest history in the world, and it's being attacked and destroyed, and has been for so long, by the military-industrial complex. And I want the people in Iraq to know most Americans, most Canadians, most British, most French, most Germans do not support murdering you. It's a governments versus governments, and at the end of the day, Trump and Rouhani should get into a duel themselves. And if they don't like each other, they can shoot each other. They shouldn't be sending off thousands of innocent kids that are misled to go die killing other innocent kids. Millions have died, and this needs to be called out. Carl Schutz says, support by $10 a month on Patreon. Well worth it for the Joshmeister. I truly appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, anything helps. Pledges help keep us alive. It's the only thing alongside GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar, Float.app, and of course the Super Chats here on YouTube. Pressing like on this video helps. Sharing the video helps. I truly appreciate it. Anyway, for those that are just tuning in, breaking news, Iran has hit the U.S. in Iraq. Neocons like Lindsey Graham are very supportive of this. I'm sure John Bolton is having the time of his life right now. And to sum it up again real quick, what happened was the U.S. has been going after Iran for a very long time. Oh, by the way, Kent Lawson just sent another $25 in the super chat. It says, can anybody match my donation? Love you, Josh. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate your support. It means a lot to me. It really, truly does, and I can't say that enough. So thank you so much. It's a beautiful thing to watch people care about the future of free information online. So he says, can anyone match my $25? Thank you so much, Kent. You are awesome. So many awesome people in the chat today. But anyway, so what happened was the U.S. has been going after Iran for a long time, has been trying, long before Trump. I know that. I'm not blaming Trump 100% for this. I'm just saying he's perpetuating the situation that's already existent. The Iranian coup in the 1950s, overthrowing their leader and pushing the Shah, and then leading into the hostage crisis, arming and funding the Iraqi Ba'athist Party against Iran, causing one of the deadliest wars in history. The U.S. has a history of propping up Hitler against the Communist Party, propping up the USSR against Hitler, which ended up killing tens of millions of people, propping up the Mujahideen, arming and funding them, later Al-Qaeda, against the USSR, etc., 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 arming and funding ISIS, all that crazy insanity. Now, what's happened is back in June 2019, the U.S. blamed Iran for attack in the Gulf of Oman on two ships, very reminiscent of the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Well, what happened was, what happened was that the ship owners said, no, that wasn't Iran. That was someone else. It wasn't Iran. We've confirmed that. So they threw that story out the window. They threw out that false flag. Well, go into December of 2019, and Iranian-backed militia group that was fighting ISIS in the region accidentally killed a U.S. contractor. I wouldn't doubt it if they were working with ISIS in the region. I don't know what their reason was for it, but nonetheless. Justin B says, wonder if Kent's her dad. He isn't. Rob is. But anyway. So they killed, they accidentally killed a U.S. contractor who, while I feel bad for him and his family and everything, I don't support the loss of human life, period. What was he doing in the region in the first place? I thought, Trump was pulling troops out of Iraq, but here we go. So the U.S. responded by killing 25 militiamen that were fighting ISIS in the region. So what happened next was that... Sorry, I'm looking at some news popping up here. What happened next was that the U.S. Or the protesters stormed the embassy in Baghdad. After the protesters took the embassy, then the U.S. took it back and pushed the protesters out of the green zone over to the other side of the Tigris River, and that turned into the U.S. assassinating Soleimani, the top commander in Iran. Well, that led to Iran responding by now attacking a base or a couple bases in Iraq, and it's killed a few Iraqis, and there's no word yet if any U.S. soldiers were killed, but nonetheless, these bases by Erbil, etc., host over 1,500 people. So this is huge news. The U.S. Did an act of war. People are like, Iran has declared war. The U.S. declared war when they killed their leader or their commander. And look, both are wrong. Both are terrible. And I don't support either government here. It's just utilizing pawns to massacre and destroy human life in the region for more control, regardless of left, right, US, Iran, Iraq, any of that. Never mind the freaking governments. Think about the people on the ground. Millions have died in Iraq thanks to the military-industrial complex, and it's the greatest example of globalism you can find. Riaz says, love from India. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the support of everyone. Make sure to press like on this video if you haven't already. Anyway, got lots of people. Christopher, thank you so much for the $10 pledge on Patreon. I just saw that. It means a lot to me. You are truly the change you wish to see, folks, and you are supporting the spread of free information online. Truth, Money, and Freedom says, I doubt Josh has censored any of your comments at the Anon of the Ankabistan, and I haven't seen any mods here. Maybe YouTube's screwing with you. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. How do I have time to censor things? I'm talking. People are claiming I'm censoring you. I don't know what you're talking about. I got a lot of chat things coming down the screen here, and I can't I can't keep up with all of it, so I can't read everything in here. My dad's presidents are selected, not elected. I 100% agree. QT Patriot says the world is a better place without satanic people like Soleimani. Maybe so, but what business is that of the U.S.? Did you support Obama waging proxy wars and killing leaders like Gaddafi? I mean, let's be consistent here, for God's sakes. This is not about the leaders. It's about millions possibly dying. Kent Lawson says, Josh is my brother in Christ. Go, Josh. Thank you so much, Kent, and God bless you as well, and all the people that support free speech and freedom and not massacring millions of innocent people, which seems like a no-brainer, but it seems like a lot of people just want to be inconsistent and will attack me for being consistent, like they haven't been following me for years, as I attacked Bush, Obama, and now Trump for doing the same things. Anyway, GIQ says, read Isaiah chapter 28, verse 22. Steve S says, it's about protecting Americans. It's about protecting Americans. Protecting Americans in the Middle East. Why are they there? Iran wasn't going to ever attack the U.S. My God. Why would they do that? They would be shooting themselves in the foot. They're forced into the situation after decades of the U.S. surrounding them with military bases and pointing guns at them and poking them over and over again. Do you expect them to not react? I mean, come on. It's amazing they haven't. They've demonstrated amazing patience here. They've been attacked over and over again. Anyway, for those just tuning in, make sure to press like on this video if you haven't already. I thank all of you for tuning in. Let's be consistent here and stop looking at leaders or left or right here and start thinking about human life. Human life. Steve S. says, reader history. They killed thousands of Americans. Show me evidence of them killing thousands of Americans. The U.S. has been arming and funding ISIS and Al-Qaeda and Taliban in the region, destabilizing the region, killing millions of people, and they shouldn't even be there in the first place. So sad. Anyway, I really appreciate all the super chats today. It means a lot. Blue Collar Scholar says Iraq 2.0. Here we go. I know. Chris Comstock says, I love you, Josh. I love you guys. I really, truly appreciate those of you that are truly standing up for principle, consistency, and supporting free speech online, as well as rejecting mass murder overseas. Matt Schreiber sent $5 in the super chat, says, you're doing good work. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate your support. It means a lot to us. It's the only way we make any money here at WHAM, as we are being completely demonetized, censored, and shadow banned. Chris Comstock says, I'm so glad you mentioned me. I just appreciate the support, man. Really appreciate it. Lord Humongous says, grow weed, not bombs. That certainly is a lot better. I hope technology and different alternatives to old guard government slavery will save us in this case. I think it's about evolution, not revolution at the end of the day. Anyway, thank you so much. Check those links below. Float.app, float.app, flote.app. Make sure to press like on the video if you haven't already. Find us on float.app at Josh Sigurdson, as well as at WHAM. We do exclusive content just for Float. It's the future of social media, replacing Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Tumblr, Reddit, and Patreon all in one, where you can post videos, get monetized, get super chats on live streams, encrypted messaging, no algorithm that tells you what you can or cannot see. I think it's amazing. It's going to replace social media, the old guard crap censored social medias in the future. Anyway, I appreciate everyone's support. GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar, a bunch of crypto options below if you want to tip. It's you guys that will keep free information up and alive online well into the future. Look at this. People are saying I look unwell. It's because I'm drinking coffee at this time. I've been up all day. Got a bunch of videos coming to you. I shot 3 videos earlier that aren't on this subject. Lots coming to you. Make sure to press like on this video for those that are just tuning in. Wow, Caesar468 sent $50 in the super chat. Says, also striving to be the change, and I appreciate your effort. God bless. Well, God bless you as well. I truly appreciate that. That's amazing. Thank you so much. That's awesome. So I have amazing viewers. It's hard to not see the trolls in the comments, but it's always so reassuring to see all of the people out there that are willing to support free independent media online. Chris Comstock says, I like all your videos. Thank you so much. Make sure to press like on this video if you haven't already, guys. But seriously, I feel bad now going away now that Caesar468 sent the $50 super chat. But I do have to go right away because I got more videos I got to post. But for those that are just tuning in, there's breaking news. Iran has hit a couple bases in Iraq where U.S. troops are situated, and obviously this is just a continuation of all-out war, perpetuation, and I'm just being consistent here and being principled, and I don't support mass murder, millions of people being killed. The Iraq War 2.0, let's end this madness sooner than later. The other side says, Josh, you're awesome. Well, you're awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, everyone. Anyway. We will be back at you guys with much more as we try to dissect this insanity that is the military-industrial complex and this global order that has been perpetuated for far too long. Order out of chaos. We need to stop this insanity. Hall says Iran and Trump kissing and making up now. Yeah, we'll see about that. I mean, it's only a matter of time. I will try to get to the latest news as it comes out. And Andrew Cannon says, just kidding, you're cool, man. Yeah, you can troll me every now and then, but I appreciate that you're at least watching the videos even if you disagree with them, and I respect that, so thank you. Christopher O says, and the Fed, I agree with you, and thank you again for that pledge on Patreon. You guys are the change you wish to see, and thank you so much. I truly appreciate your support. I am doing subscriber-only content on Subscribestar, as well as Float and Patreon for $5 tier and up a month. If you're on Patreon, message me because I haven't been able to get that working, but I will get you the videos, and as well as personalized videos, ask questions. We'll do videos that were just for you, modeled for you. So Subscribestar, Patreon, and Float.app, flote.app. And I'm getting other news. I just want to quickly, before I go, in case something else crazy happens, let's see. I just want to refresh the news as fast as I can here. FAA bars flights over Iraq and Iran. That's not good. FAA issues emergency restriction for Iraq, Iran, Persian Gulf airspace after Iran missile attacks. I'm so sick of this. And Trump saying that he would target cultural sites is sickening. You're going to attack ancient sites, you psycho? It's so sad, so sad. I'm looking at the most recent news here. U.S. bans airlines from flying over Iraq and Iran after attacks on military. I think I'm going to have to go to Iran now, for sure. Trump tweeted, all is well. Look at these insane stories. Chill out. Gas prices not spiking due to Iran attack, but that could still change. Well, crypto and Bitcoin and gold and silver are definitely improving. Anyway, for those that are just tuning in, thank you so much. Sorry you're a little late. We got to go. God bless all, and let's oppose mass murder and war in the Middle East. Make sure to press like if you haven't already. Cutie Patriot says, I'm pretty sure Trump didn't kill kids, you liar. You should actually look at Alawaki's daughter, who was murdered soon after Trump got into office. Everyone was mad at Obama for Alawaki's son from Colorado being killed, Anwar Alawaki, but his daughter was also killed under Trump. And everyone's like, oh, well, whatever, sit on your hands. It's just brutal. Consistency, folks, principles, think about it. It's important. Make sure to press like if you haven't already. And I appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you so much for the super chats. Check those links below. And Till next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. We'll be back at you with much more on this subject. Find the truth. Be the change.